speaking of stability or instability, Manchester United, of course, have been a club that's been a little not so stable, but of course they went with the stable route and keeping Erik Ten Hag this year. They're looking at potentially changing up the stadium. The Old Trafford Regeneration Task Force is leaning towards a new 100,000-seater stadium costing nearly £2 billion. Is potential debt a worry for a club even as big as Manchester United?
Well, I think the debt that they're going to take will be manageable around a stadium project like that, and I don't know what assets they're going to pledge against the debt, but it'll be workable against a stadium project. It'd be different if they were putting that sort of money into buying players, obviously, and risking it that way. But against a tangible asset like a stadium, I think they'll be able to come together with a pretty good package that will be manageable. I mean, if you're looking at the world events at the moment as we sit, the stock markets and interest rates seem to be on the way down at the moment. So I think United could be lucky in terms of timing and getting a decent interest rate in terms of that sort of project. But a tangible stadium project, I think, will always find good backers, and I think there'll be a credible, buyer of the debt. And so people will be there to back Man United, particularly Ratcliffe and the Glazers as potential backers. I don't think there'll be a problem for it. 100,000, well, that's a big number for a stadium, and hopefully they'll be able to fill it every year, every week. Then we'll have to see, but it's a big project, and I'm watching this one very, very closely.
Well, and of course, Old Trafford doesn't seem to necessarily be going anywhere. The Independent is reporting the club are considering keeping a scaled-down Old Trafford to go alongside this new stadium. Is that a good idea to you? Obviously, I think, getting rid of Old Trafford, anytime you take down an old stadium, doesn't always seem to be so great amongst, fan perspective. What are your feelings about that?
Well, I've yet to see the whole plans for the whole site development. What's interesting, I would point out, Atletico Madrid have recently put another stadium right next to the Metropolitano, which is just for concerts. And that's interesting. They've also put together another stadium for the women's side as well. So it depends what this Old Trafford, how it's redesigned, the old stadium, how that is handled. Is it for things like events? Is it for things like, say, to be the home of the women's team? It seems a very expensive asset to keep. I would have thought they would have knocked it down and repurposed it in some way, and there'd be a proper whole master plan for the whole site with a new stadium. They're very lucky to have the land next to the stadium to be able to build on, which means they're not going to have the disruption that some clubs have had to do, like Spurs, moving to Wembley for a period of time. So that's in their favour. But it's a mammoth project to undertake to build something like this. And right now, while the interest rates may be going down, the costs have certainly been going up. And so you're right, I think a 2 billion sort of number is the right one to be talking about. But they've got to take the chance now, like Man City have done, and create a whole master plan of development around that area rather than just doing one stadium. And I'm worried that the budget may become too much beyond the stadium to really put together a really great, exciting master plan. But somehow they've got to try and do that.
And can we expect this to be, see a lack of transfers in the upcoming years for Manchester United? And, fans over the last few years have said that the manager hasn't been backed, whether or not that's the truth. And we've seen the numbers. Can we expect, a master plan like this to potentially get in the way of future transfers?
Well, they can't. They just simply can't risk it. They've got to carry on putting together a first-class project on the pitch. And if United carry on the way they've been going the last few seasons, since Ferguson left, basically, then I'm afraid that 100,000-seat stadium is going to become a bit of a white elephant because the glamour of Man United is going to fade, and it's at a pretty crucial point right now. I'm not a big fan of the way Ratcliffe has approached the change of things at the moment. I'm very disappointed in the way he's approached things, and I think there are big question marks around this. I think Ten Hag putting his Dutch group together, both behind the scenes and on the pitch, is going to lead to real internal, squabbling between different factions. And also, if Ten Hag eventually gets the elbow, then of course he's going to leave with a lot of staff and not just a little core group. And there's probably going to be a few players that are going to have to go as well. So they're putting themselves in a very dangerous position going forward. And they're another team like Chelsea that's going to have to hit the ground running quickly this season. And, I think Ten Hag has probably got the brownie points right now in his favour, and the fans probably in his favour, with the way he was treated at the end of last season. So there's some big, I've always said about Man United, there's just too many moving parts at the moment, and they should be focusing on a few clearer things, sacking all the staff, all those sort of things that are going on now. There's internal turmoil, and you've got to pick your times when you pick your battles, particularly in an organic business like a football club, where it's all human-based and human-related. And that's where I think there's just too many moving parts going on for Man United right now. And that may manifest itself on the pitch, because if the atmosphere isn't right around the club, it doesn't happen on the pitch. I've seen it happen before. I know from experience that can happen. So we're going to be watching again closely Man United and Chelsea.